I wanted to share this with you because, we're all fascinated, aren't we, by history and particularly artifacts. I love looking at things like that. Even from, say, the 40s, 50s, 60s, you think, wow, was the record player really that size? You know what I mean? Or the transistor radio. And you look at it and then you find out, don't you, that these things were worth a fortune. Incredible when you think. Recently, well, I say recently, a couple of years back now, I was lucky enough to see the alleged violin. I mean, who knows, but this is the story, which was on display in a wonderful place, a town hall, where of course it belonged to part of the orchestra of the ill-fated Titanic. And there's so much fascination, isn't there, with that story. For me, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but the best film, I believe, is the 1958 epic movie starring the beautiful Honor Blackman and Kenneth More. Now, Kenneth More, I was told, wasn't particularly keen on the end of the movie because of course it was filmed in a big tank out at Pinewood Studios, but nonetheless it really did, in my opinion, get you far more, for instance, than the 1997 epic with Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet. You get the picture. Recently I found this story which I thought was amazing and very heart-wrenching, really, because we all know the dramatised version of it. And as I say, when you look at the auctions of things, you do come away and say, how incredible was that? They had no idea that these things were going to become so valuable. I remember reading a while back, that somebody had bought, I know this is incredible when you think, but somebody had bought the final refrigerator of Marilyn Monroe from her final home in, I think, Fifth Helena Drive in California. And you think, who would want that? But of course, if you are that sort of way inclined and you love those sort of artifacts and things that matter, and of course you want to own a piece of history, of course it genuinely matters. It doesn't matter what they owned, you've now owned a piece of it. And it got me thinking, as I say, with this particular story, because it's very sad. And even now today, so many people, and we know the recent ill-fated attempt to go and see the wreckage of the Titanic, and people go down there and we've seen cameras. I think it's incredible what they can now find. But, let's be honest, all of the money in there would still be there because it's in airtight locked safes, right? So that would be secure. But really, this is the final resting place of so many brave people. I mean, incredibly brave people. But as I say, this story caught my eye and I just wanted to share it with you. A gold pocket watch that belonged to a passenger who died on the Titanic is sold for 1.78 million at an auction, passing all previous sales of memorabilia from the ill-fated vessel. The 18-carat timepiece exceeded the former record of 1.5 million for the price of a different gold pocket watch, which was presented to the captain of a ship that rescued more than 700 passengers from the liner. The record-breaking watch was the property of Isidor Straus, who received the engraved timepiece as a 43rd birthday present in 1888. It coincided with his appointment as a partner at the famous New York department store Macey's. Mr. Straus and his wife Ida Fate became famous after their final moments were depicted in the hit James Cameron multi-Academy Award-winning 1997 film Titanic, showing them embracing as the vessel sank. On that fateful April night in 1912, when offered a lifeboat seat because of his age, Mr. Straus declined, stating he wouldn't board while younger men remained on the ship. Ida Straus chose to stay with her husband of 41 years, and they witnessed the last spotted of them seated together on the deck chairs as the disaster unfolded. The couple were amongst the handful of first-class passengers who died in the catastrophe, which claimed 1,500 lives. Mr. Straus's body was later recovered along with the watch and other personal belongings, which were subsequently returned to his relatives. Of course, what I'd love to know is, do you have any artifact in your family that is just a family heirloom that you really couldn't let go of? Didn't matter what price it was. In our family, we have a pocket watch, amazingly, of my great-grandfather who had a terrible accident while working on the railways. And, I won't go into gruesome detail, but it didn't come out very well. But of course, every time I look at that, I can remember him. Obviously, I didn't know him, but I can remember him and think, goodness, at least his memory lives on in that form because we have that. And if you sold it truly you know, you wouldn't be able to think in the same way again. So throw it open to you, chums. Do you have something like that? Do you look at it occasionally and go, you know what, without that, you know, it's hard, isn't it, you know? And then, of course, if you did let go of it, have you regretted it and thought you really should have held on to it? Or have you not got anything like that but wish you did? I'd love to know genuinely. And as I say, this story to me was very moving because it's very sad in those respects. But consequently, their memories do live on. Do, if you can, like, share and comment. And I'd love to know, what have you got hiding there? Absolutely. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.